So, how do I actually use the sine, cos, and tan on my functions? Well, if I'm considering the right angle that we see here, then I'm given angle x, and it's saying if I want the sine ratio for this, it's going to be the opposite, PR, divided by the hypotenuse, PQ, or 3 over 5. We could also say that if I want the cosine ratio, it's going to be the adjacent 4 divided by the hypotenuse of 5. Or if I want tan, it's going to be the opposite of 3 divided by the adjacent of 4. Sometimes the trigonometric ratios for an angle are given in terms of the letter at which the angle is located, and this is going to be pretty common once you get to grade 11. We could say that if we're using the triangle PQR, we could say that sine of angle Q, because at this x point, it's at the angle that occurs at point Q, is going to be 3 over 5. So, if I'm stating for example 5 that I want sine, cos, and tan of A, well, I'm going to really quickly just write out, this is my hypotenuse, this is going to be my opposite, and this is going to be my adjacent. Remember, you can always write this in just to make sure you're putting the right numbers in the right places. Sine of A is going to equal 30 over 34, the opposite over the hypotenuse, and I can reduce this fraction to 15 over 17. Cos of A is going to equal 16 over 34, which I can reduce down to 8 over 17. And tan is going to equal 30 over 16, which I can reduce down to 15 over 8. If I am doing the same thing in example 6, well, it's saying complete the following for sine, cos, and tan of A. Here's my angle A, so this is the angle that I am referencing. And once again, I can state that this is going to be my hypotenuse, this is going to be my opposite, and this is going to be my adjacent in terms of A. So, if I want sine of A, well, that's going to be my opposite over my hypotenuse. Cos of A is going to equal my adjacent over my hypotenuse, and tan of A is going to equal my opposite over my adjacent, or just 1. So, all it really wants us to do at the end here is just write the rational number in simplest form, which represents the trigonometric ratio. And I just need to do it based on the correct angle. So if I'm looking at, for the first one, angle x, then sine is going to be my opposite divided by my hypotenuse. For the second one, it's asking for tan of y. So now I need to switch which side I'm looking at. And for tan of y, I need my opposite, which is over here, divided by my adjacent over here. For question 3, it says that I'm looking at angle A, and it wants the cos of A, so the adjacent of 5 divided by the hypotenuse of 13. Then it wants the tangent of angle B. So it's looking for the opposite of 5 over the adjacent of 12. When I get to question 5, it's going back to my left triangle. If I want sine of y, it's going to be my opposite of 8 divided by my hypotenuse of 10. Or 4 over 5. And lastly, it wants cos of angle x. Well, cos is going to be my adjacent of 8 divided by my hypotenuse of 10. And then I'm going to jump back to the right triangle. It wants cos of angle b. Well, cos is going to be my adjacent of 12 divided by my hypotenuse of 13. And lastly, it's asking for sine of angle A. Well, the opposite of A is going to be 12, and the hypotenuse is going to be 13. All right, that is it for the trig ratios.